Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Here's the broadcast of The Role of the Body Now. We're going to have a talk with people from the dance world from very different angles. We will talk about embodiment in COVID times, in times of limitations, in times of restrictions, and how we experience this. And maybe by sharing some of these experiences, we will inspire each other and discover new possibilities. So it's a talk that it's not going to raise or lead to answers. It's not going to lead to solutions. It's just a sharing of what's going on and especially sharing of experience, I would say. And first, I want to give Dayna the word because you initiate the whole thing with Vincent, but I think this talk's really. I prepared this with you, so maybe you have a short introduction.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I kind of nearly know all of you. Not all, because Ismini, you brought some of your fans.
Peeps, yeah.
And yes, I'm really happy that we're going. This is the second time, actually, that we are going into this meeting and starting up a dialogue or a conversation about the role of the body now. And Vincent and me, we worked during the lockdown on a performance here, on a stream performance, and then we had the urge to talk to people because at once you couldn't meet. You could not get in touch easily with each other, so this is a nice way to do so. And at the moment we are working on our next performance installation, which will be in March 2021. There are some people here that are involved. That's Andreas, maybe you can raise your hand. Andreas, yes, and Pablo also is part of it, and then we have, of course, all the other people that are actually joining us in practices that we are doing, which also we will implement into the performance installation. That is Saskia, maybe Saskia you can, yes, and Alexandra. Yes, and Tarali, she's in India, so we are working internationally with different kinds of people. And yes, maybe Vincent, you want to add something that I forgot?
Nah, I think it's really wonderful to have different people already here now, because one of the things that I found really interesting and think is interesting is what is happening to our bodies. What are we going through? What are we experiencing at the moment? But not just here and not just in Holland, but also what happens to people outside. So people that are living in India or in Senegal or in South America. And seeing what different people go through instead of our own small little world in Holland. And try to connect and see what this digital world means to us and to our bodies actually, and what has been happening to our bodies. So I think,
yes,
that is maybe,
for now. The nice discovery of working in your online working process, I think we established last time, is that it also opens lines with people across the world, but also in time and maybe into different worlds. Ismini, as a dance student, she just finished her schooling, and we are working already from a very different generation. Looking at stuff, you have already your years and years of experience of developing your own work. So and normally you wouldn't be here because we don't work with a choreographer for 20 years old. But now you're here because of the situation. So I think this intertwining of worlds can open up something instead of closing the walls really. So it's interesting to share, I think.
That's maybe
So-
also a nice bridge to
Yeah.
our guests tonight.
Yes. Let me introduce the first guest, Susana Marx.
Can you raise your hand, Susana?
Raise the hand. That's Susana. We know each other also for years, and Susana's a choreographer, dancer, dance maker, we asked Dayna asked all the guests 3 questions, 3 quite simple questions. What do you miss concerning the restrictions of the COVID time? What do you do? What's your solution for the missing or your solution for this period in your life? And what would you like to do? Thinking maybe towards the future, towards new possibilities, but also the longing, the desire, the craving that you have. So, Suzanne, I'm going to give you 6-7 minutes to talk about these questions on a personal and professional level.
Unmute.
Unmute.
Yes, I can unmute you. One moment. I'm trying to do that, but Yes, now you are unmuted.
Hello?
Yeah.
Ah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I have to say shortly something about myself. That's
Please.
not
Yeah,
wise, eh? Yes, so I'm a choreographer who studied at the academy at the School for New Dance Development, like Vincent. Yeah, also. And at Dassarts, which is a master education here in Amsterdam. And yeah, it's 20 years, that's my age at least, that I work a lot on dance performances in theaters, touring through Holland and Germany, Turkey. Last year's, I also worked with Vincent and Dayna together once. With Francisca, I worked on a really nice project, Mycelos. We toured in Julidans and premiered, and we were here in Plein Theater, actually having a theme because it was about gender. So we had a whole theme weekend going on there where you are sitting now. You really kind of prepared that very well, Francisca. And so that's one of my projects. If ever there is something, I would say it's a little bit community-based, like I did one really big work with Thai kickbox girls, which toured also on the Parade and theaters, which thematized them as fanatic Thai kickbox women, and the reasons why they did that. It was really something I'm very proud of. We also were performing at the Kickbox Gala, so something I always tell to give an idea what my work is. One of the late ones was Gulliver, Children's Revolution, which went also through several theaters in Amsterdam and finalized in ITA, the city theater of Amsterdam, with 120 children for adults. It's a collaboration with ITA. Yeah, so a lot of work in the theaters. Yeah, and for me, it's now with coming to COVID. What your first question was?
What do you miss?
What do you miss? Can I turn it around? What do I do?
Well, that would be, you
want
can.
me to, what do I miss? Okay, then I tell you what I miss.
Yeah.
I miss whispering in the ear. I miss breath on the skin. What I really miss also is when I talk to people like you now, I really nearly want to touch you on the shoulder, like, do you hear me? Or I feel like a little bit, was I going too far? Then I always touch people. Maybe some people are very happy I can do that now, but that's really something I miss a lot. It's really this touching people also in conversations. And then, that's what I miss. That's what I wrote down, because actually This was one of the things, because I mainly, when I work, I'm not dancing myself, and when I'm advising when people make pieces. I'm also not active, so I'm a lot of, anyhow, a watcher, talker. So I don't miss, as some of you, the part of me performing or dancing, that I don't miss, because I do dance, but not on stage. So if I want to dance myself, I do that still now. Yeah, so for me that is the most important what I miss.
Yeah, and then move on to turn it around, and what do you do? What is your answer to this restrictive
I was a little bit lucky, just fastly, I don't want to dig too much into my work, but that one big thing coming up was postponed to premiering in July Dance 2021. That was kind of lucky until now. I should knock wood, of course, if that stays that. So I can, for now, I didn't miss out any work I'm doing. Yeah, it's all still on plan. Some other big one in 22, even with a lot of residencies for ITA, for the City Theater. So in that case, I'm now, for now, lucky. Because around me it's a lot of people who really can't work. They have, really to cancel a lot of stuff. It keeps coming and it's changing all the time. And I know how heavy that is on my surrounding. I don't have that yet. So in that sense, again, I don't have to change so much as some others. But still, of course, I miss like now I couldn't come because there's someone positive in my surrounding. This kind of such stuff is really odd. I don't know, even I'm very healthy now and very up, but I can't come to see you live. So it's a lot of empty time. That's what I feel. It's a lot of, for me, it's a lot of empty time where I have to kind of fill it up myself. What do? I meditate a lot, much more than I used to. Run, walk, whatever, keep me moving. And I started to write every day just for myself, and I called it, I thought, what do I say? So I suddenly thought that it's a little when I write, just freely. I don't know if I ever will do something with it, but it's a little bit to touch myself with my thoughts, because now I can talk to you, but it's different. So some of this really direct life touch you can have with people talking, I do by writing, and I touch myself. So that feels very, very good somehow.
It sounds almost like a practice, Susana. Very interesting. And a beautiful title, I think, The Touch of Thoughts. Yeah. Great. And is there coming from this time that you spent alone or with yourself and with your own rhythm, your own movements, of walking, running, writing even, of course, has a certain dynamic to it. Does it create a craving? Does it create a longing for like a next step? Or can you be content in where you are? Or is there already like the something in your mind looking for the possibilities for new directions, or you can sit back and wait till the work starts coming?
That's a really good one, Francisca. I even thought about it. For now, I was fine. I'm very used, as a lot of you, I look also in the back, know probably it's a subsidy system in Holland. Is often when you ask for money for projects, you have to be able to wait a very long time. You have to be really sharp on nearly telling exactly what you are doing. So in fact, nearly the whole thing is in your head. And then still you have to wait. It might come or not, and then still you have to wait a long time. So I also for that I have practiced for many years, like how to survive that and to freshen it up, to really let it go, because otherwise, so that was okay. And now I'm working with an Israeli artist from Düsseldorf. We try to create an installation. We try to find some residencies. So now it starts to make. So I think of alternatives. It's not yet happening, but something I'm seriously thinking about, and also the thing which will permeate UD dance. I'm thinking how to do that virtually. But also I'm just kind of, for the first time I thought, no, I just want to be live. I don't want anything, but now it starts to nag. So I started to reach out to different people, and now but it's very much in the beginning. It's not, but yeah, it's true. It's something. It's what you said. It's starting to crave. That's what you said.
Well, that makes sense, and of course, in time it will change. And since we don't know what the future will bring, this flexibility, the subsidy system, really nice that you connect it to this waiting, because I think, as an artist in Holland, you are, you know this as well, you are trained to wait for the yes, to wait for the money, to wait for the dancers, to wait for the place, the festival that is happening, yes or no, the money that is enough or just not enough. So this waiting practice is maybe it's also a preparation in a way for flexibility, for adjusting to whatever is needed.
Yeah, for younger makers, for sure.
So that's why the system is built this way. No, but no, thank you. For now, is there something that you want to add now, or this is?
No, I keep like it's really this. I'm very curious about how it's for people who really need the body contact normally much more, and what are the alternatives.
Also, maybe nice to, when you mention this, you don't live alone, right? You have a partner in your house.
Yes, I have skin contact.
No, but really, it's different.
Yeah.
Your story would be a different story if you lived alone. If you don't have a partner.
Yeah, it would be. I'm sure it's something. For me, one other thing which is really obvious is how much more intense you feel when you touch. Like it's really just. When I lay my head, or it's really so much more intense. It's really the lack of makes it so. There's also something precious about that.
Awareness.
That you really feel how special body we human beings are somehow. Like this touch of the skin, what that is. It's amazing somehow. So I have that,
But that's also a beautiful thing, that it creates the stillness, the emptiness, the not possibility of touching, creates also the awareness of the value of touch, the value of closeness.
So that's what I think. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. I have heard some really nice new keywords. I'll bring it back later into the discussion.
I will listen now. I will mute now.
Yeah, you're going to mute. Job, I let ladies first, if it's okay with you. Ismini, can we shift to your story?
Yes.
And again, I think it's interesting to start with what do you miss as a dancer, as a dance person, as a dance maker?
Maybe first introduce.
A little history of what brought me here. So I recently graduated from the Royal Conservatory of Antwerp. They have a contemporary dance department, and I did that for 3 years, and then of course, as everybody knows, in the last months all the schools had to close, and it was very abrupt. Nobody was even talking about Corona, and then one day to the other the school was closed. I returned to Amsterdam, where I live with my mother. And it was for me it was such an absurd change that I was almost overcompensating it with calmness. I was like, well, okay, this is just life deciding. The universe is just telling me that we all need to stop and slow down and withdraw in our houses. So I was kind of okay with that. And then 2-3 weeks we didn't hear anything about the school, and then they started to come with online classes. And my experience with that has been that first 2-3 times were fun to see everybody's living room and teachers engaging with technology and stuff. But then, I realized very soon that it was not really my thing, and I felt it's maybe a strong way to say it, but it really violated the essence of what dance and dance education means for me. And yeah, to come to what I miss, or what I missed then a lot, was the fact that there was no intimacy, that I had no body language of myself and of others to rely on. And for me, moving together has such a giving experience. Like, you give and you take constantly from the group you're with. And this was not at all the case, and it was just, of course, it was funny sometimes to see each other reduced to a square on the screen, and you were really trying to kind of stay in touch, but I missed that a lot. And also the fact that I had the feeling that I was being watched the whole time was very strange. I had a very big brother kind of experience, because yeah, for me, again, dancing is so much about, like, it's such a multi-sensorial experience that just reducing it to something visual that you can watch through a screen, it completely, missed the point for me. And yeah, so very often I try to find excuses to kind of not having to deal with online education. It's like, pull out the internet, please, to my sister or something. So I miss a lot the fact to share a space together and to be able to give directly to your colleagues, dance partners. And on a more normal, everyday life situation, I miss the carefreeness of physical touch. Like, whenever you meet someone that you haven't seen in a while, so you don't know where they are at the social distancing, what they think about it, and you have this thing of like, can I hug you? No, yeah. And even though I was thinking maybe it's not even such a bad thing to ask if you can touch people, because maybe it gives more importance to it. But yeah, for me this takes a lot of pureness away from that moment.
Maybe moving towards
to what I'm doing.
What are you doing?
What do
What's
you
your
do? That's a
solution
very
there?
confronting question to ask someone who just finished their education, because I feel I'm doing nothing because I come from such a set structure. But it's not true. I'm actually doing something, and I'm trying to find people in my close circle that, like me, have a big urge to continue working with the limited resources. So I have now a friend, a musician, that is also really looking for the same thing. So we are gonna get together just in her basement and to try to make a work together, even though we don't know if it's gonna ever be presented somewhere, but to at least focus on the road, focus on the practice, focus on the sharing together. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, or trying to do, at least as long as it's possible.
And in
keeps
April,
me alive.
May, I know from what you shared with me, you told me you have this daily practice of your own routine of yoga exercises.
Yes.
You started sharing this,
Well,
right?
when I was during the quarantine, I had a big urge to maintain my own physical practice. So I was doing yoga with my mom because she was working on a laptop all day. So I was like, at 6 o'clock, we stop everything, we do yoga together. And then I was starting to tell people around me, and they were, oh, can we please join through Zoom? Like, you don't have to give any attention to us, just do your thing and we follow. And this was something that worked a lot for me, and I got a lot of good feedback. So that was a light point in my day to do that practice.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting when you told me about it, the contrast with your own experience as a dance student, where they try to continue the dance class in a conventional way, but online, which actually was for you quite an aggressive form and took away the essence of dancing. But then sharing your own physical exercise practice with people who are willing to join you, and you share the space and share this moment, this 6 o'clock, okay, let's get physical moment. I thought that's a very nice, it's an interesting contrast, because it's not about teaching, but it is about sharing.
No, for me, I said it really clearly from the beginning. First of all, I'm not certified as a yoga teacher, so I have no idea what I'm doing. And second of all, I don't want to be, I'm in a way, of course, I'm serving you, but it's not my intention to serve you. It's not my intention to make sure you get your physical daily practice. So I said, I'm just gonna do my thing, and I'm just gonna say what I'm doing. So I go and breathe in and breathe out. So I was just, vocalizing my movement and my practice, and then people were just following. I was not looking at them at all, so I have no idea what they were doing, but
You weren't a teacher as such.
No, I was not a teacher. I was just opening my practice to the world, and for that, technology came in very handy. It was,
But also, I think it's an amazing shift from being the student that like secretly tried to pull out the Wi-Fi to skip the class that makes you feel bad, to just a few weeks later, you know like I can share what I'm doing, and this is very positive.
Yeah, and it was like a win-win situation, because they kind of helped me to maintain my own structure, because I knew people were relying on the 6 o'clock yoga. So
6 o'clock,
6 o'clock, I need to finish everything what I'm doing. And so they kind of kept my structure going, and I also gave something. So that was
so in
really
that
nice.
sense also the need for structure, I think everybody who has been working at home, really from home for a while, know that like working in your pajamas, eating whenever you want, it gets what day are we living? It gets a bit too fluid sometimes, and to create structure, it helps to share or to tap
I was
into
just
others.
defining my day in before yoga, after yoga. This was like my new 24-hour system.
Circle,
was just
great. And in terms of craving now, I know you just went into a new period, very luxurious, of creation with your dance group from Antwerp. Can you share something about this?
Yeah, so with my former classmates, we organized ourselves as a collective, and we're trying to make our own work, which was really from the need of, okay, there's not a lot of work out there, and we are all very interested in also generating our own space and our own artistic work. And we kind of made it happen to get subsidy and to get the space and a residency to rehearse, and that was really like a dream come true. It really felt like that. With Sidewards, that's our collective, I would really like to continue working as long as it's possible, and to create work that starts from curiosity and from sharing and from a kind of democratic way of creating, in the sense that we try at least to take everyone's interest and qualities in account. And of course we know each other quite well, so this is a prey, because you know what everybody has to offer, and this is kind of our ideal way of like seeing what every individual person has to offer and pulling that right thread in order to create a coherent work. And I would like to create work with Sidewards and also with my own things that shares work with people, not as spectators, but as, witnesses or participants. Because for myself, whenever I go to a performance, any kind of performance, I know that it has been good when I want to get up and I want to also participate, and I would like to make work that answers to that desire to be able to include.
And as a collective, have you been talking about this, the coming year, the fact that maybe your whole dream has to freeze in sort of like, you can do the research, but if you cannot get out there to your participating audience, do you have a plan for that, or do you anticipate on this, or you just see what happens?
Well, speaking of practices, the practice of adapting is also very relevant these days. And my initial idea, and also in the subsidy form, I wrote down that I would like to have the audience on stage, or to kind of shift that traditional audience and performance setting. But if it's not going to be possible, we have to find other ways to touch, through sound or through, I don't know.
But you haven't been really preparing this already. It's just something you see along the road.
We are not really at that stage yet. We are, but of course, I mean, we're gonna have to think about it at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. We discovered sound as a way to touch the audience without physical touch. We did a lot of vocal work because we're like, okay, if we cannot touch them or come close physically, how can we kind of close that gap in through voice?
Yeah, great. Well, start working with musicians.
Yeah,
That would help. Great. Okay, thank you so much so far. I also wrote down keywords that maybe come back later in the talk. Job, hallootjes.
Hallo, hallo.
Ik geef jou, I shift the focus to Job Cornelissen, old dance, not old, not old, but old.
Well,
A dance friend,
there.
colleague of mine, dance partner for many years, 25 years maybe ago. We started working together, and we always find each other back in very different constellations. And Job at the moment is a dance therapist working with elder people, but you're also a musician and still a dancer and many other stuff, Aikido teacher. So Job, yeah, please have the word.
Yeah, well, thank you for introducing that, because then I just can go straight to the first question. What I do miss is actually it's also what Suzanne and Ismini mentioned, that is spontaneity in daily life. Basically, that's what I miss. I have to think everything I do. I have to think about distances, about touch, about not talking too loud because the aerosols might just be blown anywhere, you know. So that's what I miss most. That everything I do, I have to think of, can I do this? And well, what might be interesting on concerning the role of the body, I work as a dance therapist with people, with young and old people with dementia, and they are losing their abilities to for speech, for talking, cohesive. They lose their ability to behave in daily life, to do their things in a normal way. They start one thing and then they forget, and then they're suddenly there. What I'm doing? Why did I start this? And they start something else. So life is really confusing for them, and their body. For all of us, the body is very important, but especially their bodies seem to get more sensitive for non-verbal communication, for touch. And then when the lockdown was there, and in the nursery home where I worked, there was no visitors allowed. So they missed the touch of their beloved ones, their relatives, their family, their children. And it got really sad. It was a very sad situation. We decided, as arts therapists, that we wanted to continue working because we thought it was important to stay, just like the care professionals. We divided ourselves on one floor, and we went only to that floor, so there was no danger that we could contaminate another floor by going from one other floor, and that. I kept working like that. So as a change for most of you, that you had to drop your work, my work got actually more intense because I was on those wards and I was kind of fulfilling as good as we could the role of family. And we kept on touching, because with people with dementia, to keep them in a distance, it's actually impossible. They come close. They want to touch you. They want to see you. They want to hold you. They want to hug you. So that's what happened in the lockdown. That's what I did. But on the other hand, a lot of things dropped away. I'm performing more as a musician than as a dancer these days. And like most of you, all the gigs just were cancelled. And that's a resource for me. Gigging is still a resource for me being a performer is part of me. So, and that urge wasn't still there and wasn't fulfilled. So, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something meditative. I'm doing with music. I'm starting to build a guitar. So that's what I did. I'm building a guitar, just working with my hands and just the wood, no thinking, just that. So that's what I do.
And this is
Keep on working. Yeah.
If you phrase it this way, it really seems that building this guitar, I picked it up on Facebook and it really made me smile. And I thought, oh yeah, of course, this is Job, you know. He cannot play, he cannot have his audience, but you want to develop. You have this urge to learn, to share also stuff, to create. And then you start creating your own instrument. So it comes directly, in that sense, from the deprivation of audience.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Would you be having your gigs and your full agenda? You wouldn't be building a guitar right now because you wouldn't have time.
No.
Probably.
I think so. Probably.
Yeah. That's nice.
Well, I wouldn't have come to the idea probably to do it. Yeah. Yeah. That's how it went. Yeah.
So that's in that sense, it's really a new area where you can move.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Because building a guitar is pretty physical, I guess. I suppose I've never done it.
It is. But the role of the body, I mean, it's not that I didn't know before the lockdown or before COVID, because I've been dancing for 25 years as well. So I'm quite aware of the role of the body, but before this, I wasn't that aware of the role of as it is as an antenna. As an antenna to get everything you experience in life to take it in, and some stuff you keep further away, other stuff you take more in. When you want to stay a healthy person, that's a good thing to do. Otherwise, you just get crazy if everything's has the same importance.
Yeah.
But by working with my clients in the care home, I suddenly realized how. Well, not suddenly, but I've more and more realized the importance for the body as an antenna, and also the misery when it comes to when that antenna doesn't get enough impulses, like what's happening with it happens anyway in the care home, but in COVID time it was even worse. There were no impulses for our clients.
Yeah.
And that was very sad to see.
Which again is going there, of course.
It's better now. It's better now. I mean, I think we learned in the second wave. We learned. It's more. Hoe zeg je dat? It's more like they look more at the situation, and when it's possible.
Yeah.
If there's COVID on one ward, that ward is closed, but the other ones won't close. That's it's still possible to have visitors. You know.
Yeah, and I think it became clear that the means of protection protect people who are that vulnerable for influences, but at the same time need those influences to actually be alive. I think we've been learning to look different at that situation, at that balance.
Yeah.
That you might prefer to risk a COVID contamination instead of being alone or not touched for 3 months alone in your room.
Yeah. I was working in protective clothes on a certain point. I was doing therapy with a lady, but she just laughed her brains out because she thought it was so funny. This kind of puppet dancing with her with something on his face and just weird clothes, you know. She thought it was really, really funny.
Laughing is very healthy. So good job.
So
Like astronaut thing.
And Job, if you think about like the near future, the coming year, how this develops, well, in terms of your work, it seems it's sort of like established a certain doable level. But in terms of you as a performer, where would it bring you or take you? One day the guitar will be finished.
Yeah.
And then what?
I build another one. No, yeah, that's true. Well, as a performer, as a dancer, what I'm doing now, I'm preparing a PhD at the moment, which is going to take a couple of years, and I'm just on the very beginning of it. It's a research on a dance therapy intervention for a group with people with dementia.
Great.
But sideways, I want to also do an artistic research on what does dance do for me along this path I'm going to walk the coming years. What can dance do as a means of self-care? So what I do now is from time to time I go into my studio, which is on the NDSM, by the way, and I go in and just have kind of I start improvising for a while with an idea of where am I now, in where am I in life, but also where am I in relationship to this PhD. And so I start improvising, and then about 15 minutes, I have a clock, 15 minutes, then the clock is gone, finished. I start to get out some material, record that for 1 minute, and that's the research. And now I'm going to stack that up. So that might be, in a couple of years, it might be a lot of material. And one of the things I'd like to do is when the whole project is running, to make a kind of solo piece out of that material. I don't know how and where and when, but
yeah, well, the really great image that you're revealing here of what you're involved in. But I also think, what does dance mean as self-care, or what does it mean? I think there's a PhD as well there, Job. Maybe you should. Yeah. No. Great. Thanks for sharing these all these great ideas and projects.
You think it should take another 7 years, so it's 15, 14 altogether.
Of course.
All right.
Let's, for now, let's see if we can share a little bit with the audience, with people who have been listening to these stories, maybe recognize something, or maybe you have a question to one of the guests, or there was like a keyword for me. Every person said keywords that really trigger my mind. I'm sure that happened also in all the living rooms across the screen. So if you have a question that you want to ask one of the people, please raise your hand and we give you, or unmute yourself. Okay, let me start talking with my inspiration from this talk. Like the first thing that really touched me, Suzanne, was that you say whispering. I love this. You miss whispering because we can't whisper 1.5 meters. We whisper because you can't.
You cannot. Yeah.
You can't. Whispering, beautiful. And then later on, you said something about sound, touching your audience with sound. Oh, that's interesting. So I just came out of 3 days working with musical students from the HKU in Utrecht, doing a dance week. So also I was involved a lot with movement and sound. And I think this connection with sound and movement is really interesting. And as a dancer, I haven't been developing it that much. It's only now working with musicians over the last 10, 15 years that it's happening. And yeah, I think it's a really interesting subject. So anybody on sound and movement, on whispering, on voice and movement, any thoughts?
Yes, Saskia.
Okay, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, well, I've been thinking a lot in the last years about sound and about how this is physical, how it is air moving, touching something in your ear, and then it goes into your brain, and then we make sense of it, maybe, or we don't. And what I find fascinating is that also babies, before they are born, when they're still in the womb, they not only feel the mother's body because they are in it, because they are alive in it, but they also hear the voice. So the voice of the mother goes out into the air, trembles the air, then goes to the belly, and goes via the outside in to the belly, and the baby hears it. And so I think it's very, like existential. Like sound is so one of the most intimate things, actually, when you think of it like this. And
Yes, that's true. That's true. It's very. It's something very. It also reminds me a little bit of. It reminds you of something. So you hear sounds, and it can make you feel at home, because maybe you used to listen to, or your mother used to listen to a rhythm or to a melody, or she was singing when you were a baby. So it has also to do a lot with remembrance,
and imagination.
Memories, imagination.
Yeah, and also in terms of embodiment and sound, of course, the vocal cords are part of the body, and actually the whole body is a klankkast. What's the word there? The body of, the resonance is in the body, is in the bones. You can actually feel sound in the body. And I know one of the beautiful memories of a friend of mine. Her mother is from Congo, so as a child, she was on the back of her mother all the time. And then you feel the whole, you have the whole resonance of the voice, of the breath, of the heartbeat all the time feeding you as a child. So anyway, that's the best place for a baby. But but this embodiment of sound is a thing that, at least in Holland, we don't do so much with music and with sound in terms of education of dancers, of developing this stuff. And it's later on that with improvising, in the improvising world, we start doing it, and of course working with musicians, we start doing it. But as a dancer, have you had any voice practice in your school?
We did, with a woman called Michelle Young. She was American. She passed away last year, but we had a class with her. And yeah, she did what she called oracle practice, and it was a lot about finding your own vocal possibilities alone and also in a group. We did some crazy stuff which also really involved the body. Like we did this thing where we explored a scream, but then from all different kind of positions, where also one that you were kind of laying back and people were carrying you, and then it gave a lot of support that, I don't know what sounds, but came out of really like you were fed by the core of the earth. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any other experiences with voice and physicality or performing?
Hi.
Yes.
Ciao, Francisca.
Ciao.
And everyone, ciao. I am a double bass player, and my first, the moment in which I felt in love with my instrument, and the reason why I was choosing this instrument is because once I was hearing a man playing, and then I was 9 years old, I think, and I was going closer and closer, and touching the body of the double bass, I was feeling all the vibration inside me. And from that moment on, I decided I wanted something like this, and that's why I think movement and body and sound and vibration, it's all linked, and it's beautiful when you play and you feel it in your chest. It's something, that's it.
Yeah, great. And now it's very nice, this image of you as a 9-year-old. The double bass is much bigger, taller than you are, and then relating to the vibration. I mean, that's the real tuning in. You tuned into your instrument before you started.
That's beautiful.
Getting to know. That's so beautiful. And I think that's also one of the things that we do as dancers. We tune into each other. We don't have to talk. We don't need the words. We tune into each other's whatever vibration level. And there, Job, I want to go back to your beautiful image of the body as the antenna.
Yes.
And I think, in a way, the deprivation gives awareness. Also, it was said a few times, the awareness of, I can actually be close, or this moment I can touch, the value of touch, but also maybe the awareness of this antenna is growing. And I think maybe, we are so aware of it because it's our instrument. Maybe we could share this a little bit with people who are a little bit less knowing or a little bit ignorant, who don't know yet. Maybe it's possible to share our possibilities.
Well, maybe I can say something, because I've been, during the first stage of the pandemic, quite held back. I was quite much waiting, and also a little bit like skeptic of the digital technology that we're using at the moment, and seeing what would happen, and seeing that space and the relation to space and the relation to each other became so much different. And I had a skepticism towards the technical world. And then now, 1 month ago, I started practicing teaching people that are non-dancers online, on Zoom. And I fell in love with it somehow. So I flipped over somehow to the other side. And one of the things that we teach is not about technique as in form, as in shape, as in style, but it's really about going back to what we call kind of one of our practices is vibration. And one of the things that what I really like about what we have been developing, and it's been coming from travel back in the day when we went for the first time to Germaine Agony, and I even took it further to my own street dance background, where you go to the popping and locking. And then at a certain point I realized, well, one of the things that I teach together with Dayna is it's not so much about form, shape, but it's about vibrating. And it's about vibrating the body and trying to guide the vibration through the body without it becoming a steady form. Which is amazing, because when I teach the people that I teach at the moment, they are actually pretty much non-dancers. So they're not professionals at all. And the feedback that comes back from it, because it's not a static form, because it's not, it's that it really gives them the ability to guide their body, let go, and still be able to move through sound, by their own sound, in relation to how I guide them through it. But
Vincent, do you hear me? How do you do that, vibrating on this distance? Can you let me vibrate? Make me vibrate.
Join me on Sunday. Join me on Sunday. Yeah, join me on Sunday. It's
actually it's not so.
Can I add something?
Yes, maybe it's not so far away from what you were telling with your yoga experience online. Is when I started to teach the online, or I don't want to say teach, because it's maybe more sharing a practice. And I remember that the first time that I did it, it was like the same idea that you had with your yoga practice, is that I'm really actually tuning into my own body, and by verbalizing what I'm doing, the people at the other side of the screen, let's say, they would kind of take the words and then interpret the words, the words how they want to interpret, and therefore, I think that not looking after a form, but looking after kind of the vibrance of a quality of moving. And actually, Saskia, you were there from the beginning on. Maybe you can also share a little bit of your experience within the class, or the class practice.
Yes, well, I very much recognize this, that it's not about the form. The form follows. You do how you feel, and then I personally believe when it feels good, it must look good. But It's not about that.
It's true.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's also interesting because, of course, we live in a very aesthetic-based or aesthetic-sense society. Everybody knows what things are supposed to look like, and the adolescents think that, so you think you can dance is the whole choreography world that's the way dance is supposed to look, and the aesthetics are very strong. So to be able to let yourself be guided, as you say, guided through somebody else's practice, and just realize you don't give a fuck about what it looks like, because there's no mirror, there's no teacher who's correcting you, there's no other students even. That's also, I think, in our society now, with the strong aesthetics that we live in, is a very valuable experience that we couldn't get so easy unless we were as crazy as Job and Vincent and Dayna, like you close yourself in for hours in a studio and do your thing. And I think for a lot of people to have these restrictive constraints, it could also really you can find a different way of working. Job, come in.
Yeah, well, I remember while I hear you listen to what you all say, I remember in my education as a dance therapist, there was at a certain point a remark or somewhere in a book, I don't know exactly, that when you move, you make that movement very conscious, you leave a kind of movement track behind it, which is not so visible, but you can feel it. And the word vibration resonates with me for that, because what I see with my clients, and that's also, I think, a difference to a dancer, a person that really has been practicing and studying movement for in-depth for a long time, and that's the difference with dance movement therapists who come from a different background, because there are also people who are psychologists and they have a knack of dancing, and they do a education as well. But what I notice with my clients is if there's a dancer working with them, even it's not a therapist, but when there's a dancer working with them and there is mutual recognition of each other, they go with the movement track. They go with the movement track that's behind. It's kind of that seduces them into the movement. That's my experience as a dance movement therapist, and I think that also gives a dancer in guiding people through sequences a lot of advantages, because you're kind of drawing the movement, and there's this kind of wave coming behind it, what you do, even if it's a sharp movement. It can be a sharp movement track. And I like that image that there's a kind of echo of your movement coming behind the movement itself.
Yeah, and actually the other person, even in experience, is apparently tapping into this. And this, of course, is, wow, that's super, because working with dancers, we develop this sensitivity, we develop the language, you sort of like know people are anticipating or maybe not, but if you work with non-dancers or with people who have even like nerve system damage and different things going on in the brain, and still they can use this communication, this is super interesting.
It also reminds me when I was just starting, going into like more the professional dance education, that I found myself always close to the teacher. And I realized myself that I wasn't actually looking, but I was just sensing with my body what's going on, and then I could pick up the energy, and then I could do it. So it was for me, logical just to be next to the teacher, but not far away, because that was kind of, it didn't feel or something.
We have a nice bridge here.
This is very relevant.
It's meaning, talk about this, because being close to the teacher is something you need, because you only see people, please take this in, and then she sees 10%. She has a vision, achromatopsy,
like a visual impairment, And I am always close to the teacher. It's also something I say whenever I'm working with someone new. It's like, hey, I'm almost blind. Can I be please close to you? But then I realized that I don't really rely on visuals because I was speaking to my classmate and she was like, yeah, I learned a lot from watching. And I was like, watching? I mean, of course I watch, but the most I've learned is through, embodying, doing again and seeing how and what works for me. But yeah, still I have always the tendency to be close to people. To touch and to be able to sense.
So that's learning through closeness. That's
through
interesting.
Proximity. And
because
but
that's something that's taken away.
It's not illogical to also say I learned a lot from watching, because we have neurons in our brains that go with the movement patterns of people you see, and but those patterns are fired in your own system as well.
That's
but it's
true.
just when I see a movement pattern, when it's done, like I'm always behind with my eyes. So when I see someone doing a movement, I'm like, I just catch the last thing. I don't catch the whole trajectory. So this is why I always try to really catch up on like what images are given, what intention is given. So
Yeah, and actually, when I'm thinking of the, we are first in the thumb of our mothers, and then you don't see anything, but you hear. You hear vibrations, you hear something. So this should be the first, probably. I don't know. And then after you come out, and then you see, and then you build a memory. You build, and then someone says this is yellow, and then you know this is yellow. So. Yeah.
Or not.
Or not.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. But there are scientists that even think that when your sight is not good, but by like being in the womb of your mother, you're being moved by the movements by your mom, and that even also kind of triggers that parts of the brain and that parts of the neural system that you kind of remember that. They even think that empathy, that you can be in the shoes of somebody else, you can imagine how it would be in that situation, is based on that neural system. There are theorists that say that comes from that.
Well, we used to walk a lot, guys. We used to be nomads, and the children would be coming with our pace, with our rhythm. That's also a lot of people refer to this as why the kids fall asleep when they're moved and not when they're still in their little silent white room. But they want to be moved. They want to go. They want to be out there.
They say in Africa, I know of with Mama Germaine, she said you walk like you were carried by your mother.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you walk like you were carried by your mother, and I really, it's really true somehow. Yeah.
All right, is there anybody? I just, looking at you, Alexandra, I was just, you finished your program as well as dance student, right?
Alexandra, yes.
Yeah, so I think you have something in common with Ismini in terms of your, of the role as a dancer, as a dance performer in this strange times, in this situation. I'm curious what your solution is for now.
My solution. Well, it has multiple sides, I think, because also my in my education, I wasn't trained to be only a dancer, but also a teacher and a maker. So I think my solution has 3 sides, and I think I talked about this with Dayna before. Like as a dancer, I had a hard time also because the home I live in is really too small to actually dance in, and so I had a really hard time with that. And then I felt, of course, like this urge to move and this energy inside of me. And my solution for that during the summer was just to go outside in the park. I live next to the park, so that's nice. And I did a lot of other physical activities. Now I still do lots of other like training and yoga and things like that, but I do I also had a hard time with all the technical things in the beginning, and I did some classes through Zoom in the beginning of March and April, but then I found it really hard because you of course miss this energy that you don't feel through a screen. And then I also thought, okay, when I just close my laptop, the class is gone. So actually I'm not in this class at all.
Yeah.
You know, it's in front of me, but I'm not in it. And that was really hard for me in the beginning. And but then eventually I started to enjoy it. I don't know how. but now that I have been able to do physical classes again, I have a harder time with Zoom classes again, because now you felt how it kind of
was.
Yeah, how it was and how it can be again. And then and what was I gonna say? Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
So I remember I talked about this with Dayna, I think a couple of weeks ago. I did the class you do through Zoom, but then in the Plein Theater.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there with you on the floor, and then it felt like I had to rediscover the space around me again, because I was used to moving at home, which also meant a lot closer to me and a lot more careful because there's more objects around you. And then I really had to, kind of feel where I can go with my movement, which was really weird, but also
That's
nice.
Interesting. It sort of like gives a very clear image that what you would need. I'm talking for you now, Alex, but as a dancer, the need of space, the need of empty space, and I know so strong that whenever in my career I did many different things, so sometimes I'm not so much in a dance studio, and then when I come back to a dance studio, it's such an amazing thing, all this volume, and it's empty, it's there to be used, to be filled with movement, to be filled with whatever comes out, and this extreme luxury feeling of empty space, and especially in Holland. I mean, we do live in a dense, crowded surroundings. If you look at the map of Europe, we're really like, it starts in the Ruhrgebiet and then weiter. It's really dense here. We are a lot of people per square meter. We have small houses. Yeah, you have to put your plans aside to do your online class. An empty space, big empty space, and just the fact that Vincent and Dayna organized in March in a 600 square meters?
More than.
600 square meters. That freaks me out. That makes me, the whole idea makes me already so happy that there's going to be all this space and it's this playground to discover and to deal with.
Yeah, it's a nice little bridge, because I think what happened to me, and I think to everybody around me, is the changing of space and what space means actually. The space nowadays, the distance that we have to have, the unsurprisedness because I have to be at distance. Can I touch? Can I not touch? So there's this different relationships that we now all of a sudden are starting to build. We're having a different relationship through this Zoom or this digital world. I think I've had first a skepticism, and then now also realizing, I all of a sudden can connect to India, to Senegal, to Bolivia, and we can work internationally, what we always wanted to do. We could have done it before, but now we're actually doing it.
Now the necessity is there.
So space all of a sudden becomes like it's love, it's hate at the same time, because I want to touch and I want to be surprised, but there's artificial space that I have to embrace. So there's all this kind of different relationships to space all of a sudden, which I find quite amazing. I don't know how it is for you, but.
Yes, I think it has both sides. Of course. My tendency is always to look at the brighter side. I guess. So I really. That's also why I jumped into sharing my practice because I had the urge to do it and to try out and to find out and to sense what it feels and means to me. And then all of a sudden there was this project, and all of a sudden we had the idea for the bigger project, and then you're there. And so I think I start always with embracing. This is, I think, what I do. I start with embracing, and then afterwards I think, oh wow, okay, now it's now it's also maybe or not so good, or maybe good, or what will happen with the idea, but looking at the good things about it, I love the fact that I can connect to Tarali. Tarali, maybe you can raise your hand so we see you. Tarali, I know her from my project in India in 2009, I think, and in 2011, right, Tarali? And I worked with Badung Dupa, that's a theater group in India, physical theater group, and Tarali, she's a dancer, traditional Indian dancer, and she joined the club. Tarali, maybe you want to add something to our conversation from your side, because you are, I think, what time is it in where you are in India now?
It's 12:46 a.m.
Wow. So it's in the middle of the night. And how do you experience, because you're also practicing now the classes, the practice which we are sharing. How is it for you, being so far away? And
it's a different kind of experience for me, practicing with you. And in this situation, I feel energetic. Favorite days with you, actually. And I'm really inspired by it.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, and maybe for people that, because it's a kind of an echo that we hear, but I think that you said that you are inspired. I mean, for me, it's really nice that I can talk to you and I see you moving, because it takes me also back to my memories which we had in Badung Dupa, dancing together and sharing the space, the nature together. Yes. Thank you, Tarali.
So maybe
I'm curious.
Yes.
How is it there with dancing and restrictions?
Good question.
Yeah.
If we can hear it, Tarali, how is it at this moment in India with the restrictions?
Pardon?
How is it the restrictions in India? How is the pandemic in India going? Wait, I have to unmute yourself. Right. One moment, you're still muted. Yes, here you are. So we were curious, Susana asked about the situation in India right now at the moment.
Yeah, it's increasing everywhere now.
And you have to stay at home. Is there a lockdown, or is you can do everything?
No, in lockdown period, I went to my parents' house. I stayed there for 6 months. Then now I need my own house. Now I'm taking a rented house in Jagir. It's a 50 kilometer far from my own house. It's a rural place.
Okay. Is it the house?
Now we're sitting here and there for our safety.
Yes.
And that's going on. And just people are waiting this time.
Yes, and
our classes are, everything is closed now.
Everything is closed.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it the same house that when I visited your home, where was it the same house?
Yeah, but I am not staying here now this time.
Okay, then maybe I can explain to the others that where Terali's home or parents live, it's a really nice big house in the middle of nature, let's say, and there's a lot of space. I remember that there's a lot of space. And I think that in as I remember when I was there, is that the cities probably is very dense and very hectic, and I already felt that when I was there, and this is 10 years ago, and I can imagine that now it's I cannot imagine India without people on the streets. Let me say it like this. It's such it's such an image that I have when I would think back of when I was there.
Yes, it's now become more rough in cities. And my parents' house, it is still in rural area. And last 6 months we are there. We are enjoying the growing baby and cultivating with my parents that time in this period. And now we are in other place, and I am doing practices with you and with other groups also, my own groups. That's it. Okay.
Cool.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
just,
you. Thank you, Terali.
I would like to add one thing that, sorry, Francisca.
No,
I think one of our interests, what happened during this period, and the role of the body, is what I saw happening within Holland, is that we became very much into a tunnel vision of what is happening just in Holland, or just in Germany, or just in France, or. And what we realized is when we started connecting to people from different parts in Africa or different parts in Bolivia or with India, is what are they going through? What are they dealing with? What is their situation? And we certainly came to different surprises, of course. There's people living in La Paz, Bolivia, that have no choice to be in a house because they have to be able to feed their kids. They have to work. So there is no possibility or luxury of a house where you stay because there's a virus. The virus is there, but we have to go and work. Or there's restrictions in different countries. In Africa, we're working with one person that actually cannot work at this point with international artists, because it's not allowed by the government. He's doing it illegally. He's being by Zoom working with us because he cannot actually work with us because now it's illegal to work with international artists. So there's all these different things that you all of a sudden comes close to you, comes close to your own reality of looking at your own perspective of is my freedom really taken away, or what is my freedom about within my own country in perspective to these other people in these different countries. So we try to get their stories, their journey within the project of March and the role of their body inside our perspective. So we're making this installation where we are, and then through that we also try to give voice to what these people in these different countries have been going through. So we get a wider perspective of just our position, our role of our body within Holland, but also what is the role of the body somewhere else.
Yeah, it's interesting because listening to you now, Vincent, I realized that the word restriction is only it's not something in itself. It's only there in connection to a cultural whatever stamp or imprint that restricts you in a certain way. So my restriction is not your restriction. It's definitely not the restriction on the other side of the world. And my freedom is a different freedom from your freedom. And yeah, so I think it's interesting to widen also, to broaden your perspective in that sense.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I would like, sorry that I get started a little bit when I talk. I was confronted also very beautifully by project by Dorit that's
Dorit,
listening right now,
hand,
and thank you for being here. And Dorit has worked with immigrants and with asylum seekers in Holland, in the AZC's, and going there, but also visiting some of the camps that are undocumented just before the COVID, just before they were moved. And I was looking outside to all these windows, to all these different countries, to all these different worlds, and then Dorit brought all these worlds back into my own country, 5 kilometers from my house. All these people that are living here inside this country, that fled their country and basically left their home, and then, yeah, amazingly you brought those voices in, and those unheard voices of those people. Thank you for that, Dorit, because I see you right here. Shocking if you see that. If you see that, maybe you can describe small, Dorit.
Yeah,
Very small, very short.
She wants to react. Yes.
Well, I just came from Plein Theater, where I was in the, parallel to you, I was in the Aide Locale. And there I just summarized the interview also with Berit and with undocumented migrants that are presenting their artworks, photography and drawings, and for 2.5 months. And they are part of, I'll do it short, but they are part of Trust Project that we just presented now in Plein Theater, where again, as you said, collaborating with refugees, asylum seekers, doing a dance and concert. Body space, basically, it was more what is home, and what is insecurity, what is in-betweenness. What is the path that we have to find while we walk, because we don't know. So for all these people, artists, migrants, these are omnipresent questions, big questions that are asking themselves every day, some of them 21 years. There's one undocumented artist that is in the Netherlands for 21 years and is undocumented, which means that he has no rights whatsoever. And these are, I think, questions that now people all over the world, as you can see, Africa, India, Europe, all over the world, we are asking ourselves how to, not only how to continue, but how to be in a state of in-betweenness. So you are here, but you are not here. So this is something that in the project we did, explored, and we are still exploring it. Yes. And maybe just to finish, there's a lot of strength to the face-to-face encounter.
Yeah.
And it can be physical, but it also can be via, like Zoom screen. But it's the bond, is the looking in the eyes, and this connectedness that we're been exploring through all this month that I've been working with really remarkable people. So the face-to-face encounter, if I'm talking about body, I think it's the encounter itself, which can be also non-physical. It can be also virtual, yeah.
Or through sound, maybe.
Yeah.
Great. I think we touched quite some subjects here. We both are writing down some stuff. Not to make a summary, but just to continue thinking and exploring this conversation. Yeah, maybe for now we can close this one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was quite a rich 1.5 hour we had. Is there like a last question from somebody?
Pablito.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Big hello to everybody there. So interesting to hear you. I'm more into image and sound, and well, I've been in a very interesting experience these days with the artists that are working with Dayna and Vincent. And hearing all of you, I just have some words that stays with me, and I wanted to read you. And I think this was very special. What it makes us human is our capability of understand our relation, the relation that our body have with everything. Yes.
Wow.
And yeah, I believe that ourselves with this capability to understand it, what's going on with the body, what's going on with the connection that we have with the sound, with the, or the vibration, or the everything that is around us, what's happening there with the emptiness, or with the closeness, or with the, what is freedom, or what we believe it's freedom, or what is to live in a very okay situation, or in a not very okay situation, what it is to live in danger or not in danger, or why do we believe in all of these things, and how our body is in this transition to understand this capability. I believe it's very important. So yes, thank you.
Thank you, Pablo. I think it's a wonderful finishing sentence, closure. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Yes, so yes, do I round it up?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Oh, I round it up. Okay, so thank you very much for coming, everybody, and we will continue doing this because I think that, it's enriching. I feel that, and I hope you feel that a little bit too. Yes, what else to say? Do I forget something? Do I have to? No.
We're not going to do it soon, but we're going to do it again.
No, we're going to do it in December.
Because I think it's nice to have these stages where we come back and meet each other. It's wonderful if you could join again and see
where we are.
how you passed through as well as we passed through, and what happens through this weird time. But thank you for being here, all of you. Fantastic. Yeah.
Yes, so by saying that, I wish you a wonderful, wonderful night, and big hugs and kisses. Feel embraced.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Francisca. Oh, no. Bye, people.
The end of Zoom meetings take hours.
Yeah, take hours.
Yeah, I can end it.
Oh,